Hello, I'm James Macquarie, one of the founders at GLAD. This is our Breaking Down Climate Pollution podcast, in which we ask AI to generate a deep dive conversation based on a climate science or policy document we'd like to learn more about. In this episode, we ask the AI to take a deep dive into the major takeaways from COP28 with a spotlight on the ambitious global plans for an energy revolution. Let's dive in.
All right, so feeling a little buried in climate news lately. COP28 just wrapped up all those UN climate conferences, and the reports and declarations, it's like they're piling up faster than
It's a lot.
than snow drifts, I swear.
Even for those of us who this is what we do.
Right.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to digest.
Oh.
So think of this as your shortcut. We're going to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
We dove deep into this summary of global climate action at COP28, which that's straight from the UN's climate team, so we're getting it right from the source.
Like the good stuff.
Right to the good stuff. No jargon. We're just what actually matters. Like, did we make any progress?
Yeah.
Or was it just a bunch of hot air? I mean...
Well, let's just say there are some glimmers of hope.
Okay.
Some promising leads in that mountain of paper, definitely.
Okay, so hit me with it. What was the big thing?
I would say energy.
Okay.
It was like the buzzword.
Yeah.
Everybody knows we need to ditch the fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
And this report, it actually lays out a pretty bold vision.
Okay.
I like to think of it as like a three-pronged approach.
A three-pronged energy revolution.
Exactly.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Lay it on me. Prong number one.
All right, so first up, renewables.
Okay.
They are having a moment, let me tell you.
Okay.
Over 130 countries signed on to this global renewables and energy efficiency pledge.
Okay.
And they're aiming to triple the global renewable energy capacity by 2030.
130 countries? That's got to be almost everybody.
Right, pretty much everyone.
Wow.
It's unprecedented, really.
Wow.
Like, imagine a world where it's all wind farms and solar panels.
Yeah.
Like, that's the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the vision.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're putting down here.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing on paper, but let's be real for a second. What are the roadblocks? Because this is not like a small
Oh, no.
This is not a small project.
No, this is huge.
We're talking massive undertaking.
Yeah, you're right to be, a little bit cautious.
Yeah.
I mean, tripling capacity, that means huge investments.
Mm-hmm.
Infrastructure, technology, grid modernization.
Yeah.
We're talking trillions of dollars globally.
Well,
And then, on top of that, you've got the political will. Will
Okay.
governments actually make this happen?
Yeah.
Implement the policies. So it's a bit of a,
it's a wait and see.
yeah, we'll see. We'll
Okay,
know.
okay. So massive potential, but also healthy dose of skepticism.
For sure.
Okay, what's next on this revolution checklist?
Right. So alongside the renewables, there's a huge emphasis on energy efficiency,
Okay.
which, think of it this way. You wouldn't just, throw your money around.
Right.
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 Energy efficiency is kind of like squeezing more value out of every watt,
Okay.
every watt of power that we're generating.
So less waste, more bang for our buck.
Exactly. And where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start?
It's, smarter buildings, more efficient industrial processes,
Okay.
even rethinking our transportation systems.
Okay.
Imagine cities designed for walking and biking
Yeah.
and public transit,
Yeah.
homes and offices that practically power themselves,
Mm-hmm.
with smart tech and insulation.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the future we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the goal is to double that global average annual rate of energy efficiency improvement.
Okay.
So from 2% to over 4% every year to 2030.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting future city vibes. I'm kind of into this.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
what's that third prong?
Right. So this one's kind of sneaky.
Okay.
It flies under the radar, but it's big.
Cooling.
Air conditioners, refrigeration,
okay.
whole 9 yards.
Interesting.
Yeah, and as temperatures rise,
Mhm.
as people, climb out of poverty,
Mm-hmm.
that demand for cooling, it's only going up.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of energy.
That's a really good point. I never really considered like my AC unit as like contributing to climate change, but it makes sense when you say it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where this global cooling pledge comes in.
Okay.
66 countries have signed on
Okay.
to slash cooling-related emissions by like 68% by 2050.
68%? That's like, what, 2/3?
It's huge.
How do we even begin to tackle that?
So it's multi-pronged, no pun intended.
Right.
But developing energy-efficient cooling tech, climate-friendly refrigerants, and then designing buildings that just stay naturally cooler.
Interesting. Okay. So it's like a holistic
That'd be holistic
approach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we're back and still digging into this COP28 report. We tackle that whole energy revolution thing, right?
Yeah.
Tripling renewables, all that, and even making our ACs more climate-friendly. Who knew?
Right.
But this report, it goes way beyond just the tech stuff, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a whole other like layer to this.
Yeah.
It's about the human side of climate change, really.
Yeah, because it's not just numbers and targets. We're talking about actual people's lives.
Exactly. And that's a key message in this report, Climate action, it has to be inclusive. It has to be equitable.
We can't just like swap out fossil fuels and call it a day.
Right.
We got to make sure this whole transition benefits everyone.
Yeah.
Especially the people hit hardest by climate change.
Because it's like that saying, isn't it? We're all in the same storm, but not the same boat.
Exactly.
Some people are facing like way rougher seas than others.
Yeah. And often it's those on the front lines of climate change.
Yeah. Right.
The ones dealing with the droughts, the floods, the extreme heat.
Yeah.
They're the ones who contributed the least to this problem.
It's true.
And that's where this whole idea of climate justice comes in.
Okay. So how does this report address that? Like, what are we doing to make sure no one gets left behind?
Well, there's a big push to, like, amplify the voices of those most impacted.
Okay.
So we're talking about empowering women and girls because they face unique challenges from climate change.
What are some of those challenges? I mean, I'm really curious about that.
Well, in lots of places, women, they're responsible for, like, collecting water, growing food, managing households. And climate change, it's making all of that even harder.
Right.
Like, imagine droughts mean walking miles just for water.
Yeah.
Unpredictable seasons, ruining harvests.
Right.
Extreme heat, putting families at risk.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that all these issues, they're all connected.
Absolutely.
It's not just the environment. It's social justice, it's gender equality, it's basic human rights.
100%. And we can't talk about climate justice without mentioning indigenous communities.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about like indigenous-led conservation. What makes their perspective so valuable?
Well, indigenous peoples, they've been stewards of their lands, of the environment for generations, like millennia in some cases.
Right.
They have so much knowledge about sustainable practices, about conservation, about adapting to changing climates.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
There's so much to learn from communities who've lived in harmony with nature forever.
Exactly. And this report highlights that, there's a growing movement to support indigenous-led conservation.
Okay.
Make sure they're heard at every level of decision-making.
And again, it comes back to that inclusivity, making sure everyone's at the table when we're figuring out climate solutions.
Exactly. And part of that is making sure developing countries have the resources to make this transition to cleaner energy, to build resilience.
Right, which brings us back to that whole climate finance thing. Right. It's not just how much money, it's how it's used, who benefits.
Right. It has to be targeted. It has to be effective.
Yeah. So what do they have to say about that?
So there's the big commitments, like to the Green Climate Fund, but also a focus on new approaches, like credit enhancement for developing countries.
Okay. Credit enhancement, I got to be honest, that one went over my head a little.
Sure. Think of it like this. It's a way to, like, de-risk investments in developing nations.
Okay.
A lot of these countries, they have huge potential for renewable energy projects.
Yeah.
But investors, they might be hesitant because of the perceived risks.
Okay.
Credit enhancements like guarantees or insurance products to help reduce those risks and attract more private investment.
So it's about creating the right environment for those projects.
Yes.
Especially in the places that need them most.
Exactly. Exactly. And this report, it makes it clear.
Yeah.
Climate finance, it's not just about mitigation. It's also about adaptation.
Yeah.
Helping countries deal with the impacts that are already happening.
Right. So it's preventing further damage.
Right.
But also helping communities adapt to what's already going on.
Exactly. And it's not just about throwing money at the problem either.
Right.
It's got to be used effectively, transparently.
Which brings up a word I kept seeing, accountability.
Yes.
Because anyone can make pledges, announce initiatives, right?
Right.
But actually delivering on them, that's the real challenge.
It is. It is.
Right.
So how do we make sure these promises, they become real action? It really is. It's like, what's the point of saying you'll do all these things if no one's actually checking?
It's the follow through.
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
And this report, it emphasizes that.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Yeah.
It can't just be an afterthought. It has to be built into the entire system.
Yeah, okay.
From the get-go.
So we need benchmarks. We need ways to...
Yes, clear benchmarks.
Okay.
Transparency. We need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then actual mechanisms for, holding nations' industries accountable.
Right. So it's not enough to just hope everyone's going to do the right thing. We actually have to have systems in place.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that look like practically speaking?
So for one, we're seeing a push for more transparency.
Okay.
Like this net zero transition charter.
Okay.
They're encouraging organizations to make their pledges public.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everyone what they're going to do.
Okay.
Come up with a plan and then show their work,
Okay.
Regularly report on their progress.
Yeah, so it's you gotta show your work.
Exactly. Warts and all.
Yeah.
The idea is to,
shine a light on it.
Shine a light on it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Show who's really leading, who's lagging behind.
Yeah, because a little bit of sunshine can be a powerful motivator.
It can be. It can be.
But I mean, let's be real. Reputation aside, are there actual consequences if someone doesn't follow through?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's still a bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
We don't have an international climate court.
Right.
At least not yet.
Right.
But, there's always the court of public opinion.
That's true.
And that's starting to have an impact.
Right.
Consumers are demanding action.
Yeah.
Investors are putting their money where their mouth is.
Right.
Young people are holding leaders accountable.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a bottom-up.
It's definitely a bottom-up
approach to accountability.
Yeah, the pressure's coming from everywhere.
Okay.
And we can't forget about the media.
That's true.
They're getting better at, cutting through the noise, holding those in power accountable.
Right. And this report, it even highlights investigative journalism as being important for uncovering greenwashing, exposing those empty promises.
It's so important to have that kind of watchdog rule.
Okay. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic.
Good.
I mean, we've covered so much.
A lot of laughs.
From renewable energy to that whole climate finance puzzle, indigenous-led conservation, all the way down to accountability.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. And climate change it's a complex issue.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is, I think we are finally treating it with the urgency it deserves.
Okay.
COP28, it showed us that the world is mobilizing, really collaborating and innovating.
Okay. That's a hopeful thought. But I got to be honest, I still find myself wondering, what can I, as one person, really do? This is a global problem.
It is a global problem.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Every little bit matters.
Okay.
Every single choice we make, every action, it adds up.
Okay. So how do we bridge that gap between those big global agreements and then just, our regular lives?
Okay. So imagine climate change is like this massive ship.
Okay.
Right. And we're trying to turn it around.
Yeah.
Everyone on board, they need to, shift their weight a little.
Okay.
Adjust the sails. We got to work together.
Okay.
Yes, we need the captain steering in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's the governments, the institutions, right?
Right.
But we also need the crew.
Go. Okay. I like that analogy. I like that. So what are we doing? What can we do as individuals?
It's about aligning our actions with our values. How we get around, what we're buying, how we're powering our homes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all decisions that make an impact.
Right.
Imagine choosing to bike instead of driving.
Okay.
Or walking, whenever you can.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine cutting back on meat, supporting your local farmer's market.
Yeah.
Imagine asking for renewable energy options
Okay.
in your own community.
So it's like taking those big goals
Yeah.
and bringing them into your everyday life.
Exactly, connecting those dots.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate just talking about it either.
That's true.
The more we talk about climate change,
Yeah.
the less scary it seems, the more we can inspire each other to act.
Yeah. It's about like turning our concern into action.
Yes.
Our knowledge into power.
Exactly, and that's really what this report is about. It's a
Yes.
call to action for everyone.
Everyone.
Governments, businesses, communities, individuals, we all have a role to play.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this COP28 report, here's the takeaway. Stay curious, stay engaged,
Yes.
and most importantly, stay hopeful.
Yes.
Because these challenges are real,
Yeah.
but so are the solutions.
Oh, absolutely.
And the more we understand, the more we're able to actually do something.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, on that note, we'll leave you with this. What is one small step you can take today to kind of align your actions with these goals that we've been talking about? Remember, even the smallest changes can make a big difference.